Hey guys, it's Kyle with Wattsun Solar Trackers here. Just wanted to put together a new controller initialization video for you guys. Over the past few weeks or so and going forward, our dual axis controllers have started shipping with the new IDEC FL1F Smart Relays. You can see it right there. We're upgraded from the FL1E. And everything works the same but looks a little bit different, so we just wanted to put together a little something for you guys to show what the initialization looks like on one of these smart relays. Before we power up our controller, we want to check a couple things. First, we want to make sure our sensor's already plugged in. We don't want to plug the sensor in after the controller is already powered up, so we want to make sure that's in before we start up the controller. And the second is to make sure that our input voltage is going to be a constant 24 volts. So after we've checked those two things, we can power up our controller. And it brings us to this screen. We have Start, Program, Setup, Network, Diagnostics, and Card. The first thing you're going to want to do, and you don't have to do this, is to set your clock. So you can scroll down to Setup and press OK, and go down to where it says Clock, press OK, and go to Set Clock. Right now it's about 11 o'clock on July 16th, 2019, so we can just go ahead and input that date and time and press OK. It's going to bring us back to where it says set clock. We're going to press escape. We're going to press escape again, and then we're going to arrow up to the start option. Alright guys, I had to darken everything up a little bit because of the backlight here, but once we have the start option selected, we can press OK, then arrow to the left and press yes on start program. And that's going to bring us to our clock screen. We're then going to want to arrow over to the right until we get to screen 7 out of 9. And you can see that right there in the upper right hand corner, and that's the M screen. Now there's 5 lines to this M screen. We're going to really focus on the top line and numbers 1 through 5 on the top line. Those are our flags for the commands we're going to input. Number 1 represents auto manual. Number 2 represents night stow on or off, and that's for the elevation axis. Number 3 represents single axis or dual axis, and numbers 4 and 5 are the two different options for night stow. That's flat or vertical. The first thing I want you guys to look at is that number 1 on the top line. We can see that it's not shaded, meaning the controller is currently in manual mode. And what I want you to do now, especially if this is a new tracker, with an older tracker it's not as critical, is to use the relays on the right side of the controller to test the limits of the tracker and make sure that our wiring doesn't get caught as the tracker travels all directions. Once we've checked the travel of our tracker, we are now going to input our first command, which revolves around the 3 on that top M line, and that is single axis or dual axis. So since the 3 is not currently shaded, that means we're in single axis mode. Here is how we are going to change this into dual axis mode. We're going to hit the right arrow 2 times to go to our ESC plus C screen. This is screen 9 out of 9. You can see in the top right hand corner. To input this dual axis command, we're going to press and hold the escape key, and while we're doing that, we're going to press the left arrow, and we're going to input this twice the first time we set this up. So if you follow along here, I'm going to press and hold escape, and while I'm doing that, press the left arrow. We're going to do it twice. Then we're going to go left back to the M screen, screen 7 out of 9, and we can see that the 3 is now shaded. This means that our tracker is in dual axis mode. The next command we're going to input is the elevation night stow. And this is not something that's required, but for customers who want their elevation at night to either rest in a vertical or flat position, we can turn this on. If that's not important to you, we can just leave this off and skip to the next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to arrow over to the right 2 screens to the ESC+C screen, and we're going to do the same thing we did before, but we're going to press escape and down. So press and hold the escape key, and while we're doing that, the down arrow. We're going to do it twice just like before. Now we can go back over to our M screen, and we can see that the 2 is now shaded. This means that elevation night stow is now on. Now you also notice that the 5 is shaded. This means that our elevation night stow is set at vertical. So once we turn that 2 on, we either have to turn 4 or 5 on, and 5 is the default setting. So if we want to change that to elevation night stow flat, we're going to go back over to our ESC+C screen and input escape and right. And we can go back to our M, and we now see that the 4 is shaded. If we want to change that back from flat to vertical, we can go back over, escape right again, and the 5 is now shaded. The last step we need to do to finish setting up our controller is to put it into automatic mode. Now if we look at the 1 on the top line of the M screen here, that it is not shaded, meaning we're still in manual mode. And while we're still in manual mode, I'd like you to use your relays in the right side of the controller, over there, to orient your tracker as best you can towards the sun. What this is going to do is just help it stay on track for the first day here when we're initializing it. So after we do that, we're going to right arrow twice to our ESC+C screen, and we're going to input the escape and up command. So we're going to do that twice, just like we did the other commands, escape and up again. And we're going to hit the left arrow twice to go back to our M screen, and we can see that the 1 is shaded. So that means we're all set up. We have the controller in automatic, we have the elevation night stow on, and currently, because we have the 5 shaded, it's elevation night stow vertical. And with the 3 shaded, that means we're in dual axis mode. So you should be all set, and your controller should start tracking in a few minutes.